friends, welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. This week I have some more super easy and delicious meals to share with you. They're all very budget friendly and I think they are meals that your whole family is going to love. Like I mentioned in my grocery haul video, we are trying to get a little bit better about sticking to our budget. So these are definitely all very budget friendly meals. So definitely stay tuned until the very end if you don't want to miss out on all of these recipes. If you are new here, definitely consider hitting that little red subscribe button. I do post What's for Dinner videos every single Sunday, lots of meal prep, grocery hauls, all kinds of food related content. So if that is something that you're interested in, definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this week's meals. So first up, I'm making these pulled pork sandwiches in my crock pot with some smashed potatoes, which are super delicious. I ended up picking up this huge cut of pork at the store. So I am just seasoning it up really well with some onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, as well as some salt and pepper. You could also use a pork rub if you have that on hand, but I did not, so I just pulled out some seasonings and I'm just seasoning it up very well on both sides. And then I just threw this into my crock pot. I did decide to squirt on just a little bit of barbecue sauce for a little bit of flavor, but I do like to add most of the barbecue sauce at the end. Another thing that you can add here is actually a can of Dr. Pepper. It is super delicious, but I did not have any on hand. I just cooked it on low for about like 8 to 10 hours, and this is what it looks like when it comes out done. Super delicious and a very easy meal to make. I just pulled it all out. It pretty much fell apart right as I pulled it out of the crock pot, and then I'm just taking my tongs and breaking it up a little bit before adding in my barbecue sauce. So for barbecue sauce, you guys probably already know this because I talk about it all the time, but I really love to add the Sweet Baby Ray's. I think it's so good, much better than any other barbecue sauce that I have ever tried. If you guys have a favorite barbecue, let me know down in the comments because I would be open to trying something new if you have a favorite. I did not add very much just because my kids were going to be eating this too and I didn't want it to be too spicy. So now that the pulled pork is done, I'm moving on to the smashed potatoes. So here I have about 1.5 pounds of these honey gold baby yellow potatoes. I just boiled them for about 10 minutes until they're nice and fork tender, drained them off, and then I'm moving on over to my garlic. So here I have a big bulb of garlic. I'm just cutting the top up so that all of the cloves of garlic are exposed. This is actually going to get roasted in the oven. It's going to turn into this garlicky, buttery goodness. I promise you guys, it is so delicious. So you can see that I have all of the tops opened up, and I'm just gonna throw that right on to my baking sheet with all of my potatoes as they go into the oven. So here are those potatoes. I'm just throwing them into a bowl, and I'm gonna be seasoning up a little bit with some olive oil. I'm also adding on some sea salt. I would recommend using more of a coarse salt for this one, and then just some black pepper, and I'm just tossing that all together. So since these are smashed potatoes, you're going to need something to smash them with. I typically like to use a wooden spoon. You can also use a glass, a rolling pin, anything like that is gonna work. You could probably even use like your fist and something flat, but I just kind of take that wooden spoon, press it down. You don't want them to be completely pulverized. These first couple did get pretty mashed up, but you will see as I go here, you want them to stay intact, but these are gonna get super nice and crispy in the oven. You can leave them a little bit thicker or you can do them a little bit more smashed. I like to do mine somewhere in the middle, where you're just gonna go ahead and get all of these smashed to your liking. So once you get done with all of your smashing, you're gonna have a little bit of that olive oil left in the bottom of your bowl. So I just like to drizzle that on top of the garlic clove so it gets nice and roasted in the oven. And then I am going to take that extra olive oil and just kind of drizzle it on top of the potatoes where it looks like it might need it. These potatoes are going to get baked in a 425-degree oven for like 20 to 25 minutes, just depending on how crispy you like your potatoes. Once they're all done, go ahead and pull out that big bulb of garlic, and you're actually just going to pull out each individual clove of garlic and throw it right into some melted butter. I have probably like a couple tablespoons of garlic, maybe like 2 or 3. Just throw all those cloves right into there. They're all roasted and delicious, and this is actually going to form a paste for on top of our potatoes. So I am adding in just a little bit of sea salt, not too much, just a little taste in there. And then I'm just taking a fork and mashing all of this together. It's basically going to form a garlic butter paste that's going to go right on top of the potatoes. Super, super delicious. I originally found this recipe from Mallory Irvin. She does have a YouTube channel. I'll have it linked down below if you want to see how exactly she did it. But this is my take on it, and you guys, it is so, so good. Look at all of that buttery, garlicky goodness to go right on top of the potatoes. So here is that paste, and I'm just putting that right on top. I wasn't sure if this was going to be too much garlic the first time I tried this recipe, but I promise you it is not at all. It is so, so good. You guys are definitely going to love this one. If you try it out, let me know down in the comments what you thought of it, because we love this recipe. So this is what the potatoes end up looking like. They're so delicious, nice and crispy. You guys are going to love this. It paired perfectly with the pulled pork with a little extra barbecue sauce on there. Those potatoes on the side were absolutely perfect. We did have a side salad earlier in the night before dinner, so that's why you don't see a veggie here. But that is it for this dinner. You guys definitely try this one out. You're going to love it. So for the next night, we had tons of this pulled pork left over, so I figured it'd be perfect to make some pulled pork nachos. So I just lined my baking sheet with a little bit of aluminum foil to make the cleanup much, much easier. And then I threw on some tortilla chips. Unfortunately, this was the end of the bag, so they were all kind of small pieces, but it still worked out totally fine. And then I just have some of the pulled pork here that I warmed up in the microwave, so it was warmed up a little bit. Throw that right on top. You know, you can definitely add whatever type of toppings you want to this, but I kept it super, super simple. I did drizzle on a little bit of barbecue sauce. Of course, it is the Sweet Baby Ray's kind. And then of course I topped it with some cheese. I just used a Colby and Monterey Jack blend. And now here's where you could really doctor it up with anything that you wanted. We did not have much on hand, but I did have some of these banana pepper rings that I had made in a meal prep video before. I've been making them a lot because we have tons of them in the garden, and they actually paired really well on this. I just threw these into a 400-degree oven for maybe like 10 minutes or so, and they came out super, super delicious. We really enjoyed these. Definitely a big fan of them. I did decide to add a big dollop of sour cream on top because you can't go wrong with sour cream on your nachos, but that is what we had for dinner on this night. So for this next night, again, we had tons of that pulled pork left over, so I figured this would be a great night to make some barbecue pulled pork mac and cheese. It actually is inspired by an old HelloFresh recipe. So, so delicious. I'm just starting off by boiling up a box of rotini noodles, and then into my other pot, I'm adding in about 5 tablespoons of butter and just letting all of that melt together. So once that's all melted, you're going to be adding in just some regular all-purpose flour. I added in right around 3 tablespoons and just whisked all of that together and let it cook up for maybe like 30 seconds to a minute. Once that flour is cooked into the butter, I'm just adding in a little bit of salt and pepper to taste, as well as about 2.5 cups of milk, but don't add it all at once. You want to gradually add in this milk, and it should thicken up as you are adding it in. Once your noodles are all cooked, go ahead and take out about half a cup of that pasta water and just set it aside, and then go ahead and drain off all of your noodles. And then heading back over to that sauce, you have all of your milk added, and then you're gonna add that pasta water right into there. Get it mixed in and well incorporated. And now you're going to want to add in the cream cheese. So you're gonna want about 6 ounces of cream cheese for this. I do like to let mine sit out at room temperature while I'm cooking up the rest of the ingredients, so it just gets a little bit softer. And then you're just gonna whisk all of this together and make sure it gets really well incorporated. I should mention that you should have the heat off while you're doing this so that the cream cheese does not curdle at all. Once that's done, you can go ahead and add in a little bit of barbecue sauce. You guys know I like my sweet baby rays, and then I'm also adding a little bit of salt and pepper to taste, as well as some Colby and Monterey Jack cheese. I would say I added probably about a cup of this, and then just get all of this melted together. And now is the time to add in the pulled pork. So I added in probably about a pound of pulled pork, but you can tweak that to your family's liking. I ended up freezing the rest of this because we still had so much of it on hand. I'm also adding in the rotini noodles and getting all of that mixed together. Now this is the point where you're going to want to taste it. See what you think. Your family may want to have it a little bit more cheesy. They may want a little more barbecue taste, or you can go ahead and just add some more salt and pepper, which is what I personally did. I thought it tasted super good. I just added in a little bit more salt and pepper, and it was good to go. You guys, this recipe is so creamy and delicious. A little bit different than your typical mac and cheese, but you guys are going to love this one. Again, if you try it, go ahead and let me know what you think of it. For the next night, I made some pizza zucchini bows. We have so many zucchini in our garden, so I've been trying to use them up as best I can. I've been using them for side dishes, main dishes. You guys have seen a few of the recipes that I've been making lately, so I figured this would be a fun way to use these up. So I'm just taking 2 zucchini and I cut them in half lengthwise, and then I'm just taking an ice cream scooper. You could also use like a melon ball scooper, would work really good for this one, but I'm just hollowing out the inside, getting that seedy part out so that the zucchini doesn't get waterlogged when I'm actually baking it in the oven. Then you're just going to spray your baking sheet with some oil. I'm just using some extra virgin olive oil for mine. That's what I typically use when I am cooking in my kitchen. Laying those zucchini right onto my baking sheet, and then I'm going to be throwing on some marinara sauce. I just used this cheaper kind from Great Value. It was perfect for this. You could also use pizza sauce if you prefer. It's just going to have a little bit different flavor than the marinara sauce. Whatever your family prefers is totally fine. Just go ahead and layer that into your zucchini boat. I did decide to add on some grated Parmesan cheese. I think next time I will put this right on top so it kind of crisps up. I did decide to also add on some seasonings. So I just did some garlic powder, salt, and pepper to keep it really nice and simple and basic, but add a little bit more flavor. And then of course I needed some cheese on there, so I decided to use some mozzarella to keep it with a very classic pizza flavor, but definitely play around with this and do whatever your family prefers. Now for the toppings here, you could go with whatever your family's favorites are, but I decided to just go very classic, and I just did some pepperoni, but you could totally do sausage, black olives, onions, peppers, mushrooms. You could totally load these up with whatever your family's favorites are. I ended up baking mine in a 350-degree oven for probably like right around 25 minutes or so. You just want to cook them until the cheese is nice and golden brown. I did put them on broil for a few minutes just to brown up the cheese, and then I just served these with some garlic toast. Super simple, quick and easy dinner idea. So for the next night, I made kind of a random dinner. We had some sweet corn with some zucchini in the air fryer, as well as some sausage in our freezer to use up. So here are my zucchini from the garden. We have so many, so I've just been trying to use them up as best as I can. I was watching Mom's Messy Kitchen, I think it was a few weeks ago, in her What's for Dinner, and she made some zucchini in her air fryer, and I thought it looked so good, so I decided to try it out and see what I thought. I think she ended up putting like some Parmesan on it. She did not share the recipe, so I kind of came up with my own thing, and it did turn out super delicious. I just drizzled it in some olive oil, some salt and pepper, as well as some garlic powder, tossed all of that together, and then of course I'm gonna add in some Parmesan once that's all coated. For the Parmesan, I did not have to add in very much. I would say I added in probably like a couple tablespoons, if that, but just that little bit of Parmesan on there really made the zucchini taste so good. It just added a little bit of crispiness. I just threw these right into my air fryer. I set it at 375 degrees for right around 20 minutes, but just go ahead and keep an eye on it and cook it until you get the crispiness that you like. This is what the zucchini ended up looking like. They were super good, definitely not soggy at all. Now on to the sweet corn. So how I like to do mine, I take a pot of water and I just bring it to a boil. Once that is fully boiling, I throw my sweet corn in there, I put a lid on, and then I actually turn my burner off and I just let this sit for 10 minutes, and you guys, it comes out perfect every single time. It is nice and tender, but it's not overdone. It turns out to be the perfect sweet corn. So if you've never tried it like this, definitely give it a shot. It turns out super good, and you don't really have to keep an eye on it. It's just very easy to make it this way. And then as far as seasoning my corn, I usually will just put on some melted butter and some salt. This time I did add on some paprika, and that was pretty good. I'm really curious to hear how you guys make your sweet corn, because I'm guessing this is a little different depending on where you live. I think most people around here just do butter with some salt, but I'm curious how you guys make yours. So this is what dinner ended up looking like. It turned out so yummy and delicious for just a really quick throw together meal. All right, friends, that is going to wrap up this week of What's for Dinner. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Hit that little subscribe button if you have not already. I do tons of cooking related content on this channel. I do a What's for Dinner every single Sunday, grocery hauls, food prep, all things food on this channel. So if that is something you're interested in, I would love to have you. But that is going to be it for today's video. I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a care.